This video is on diaphragm breathing for relaxation. This is vital for management of panic symptoms, which is outlined in my video on managing panic attacks. It's also vital just for dealing with day-to-day stress. Whenever I'm in groups, I look around and I find that 80% of people are breathing with their chest, which is basically for three reasons. The fact that somebody's a smoker, so they're used to inhaling with their chest. They are an asthmatic or have similar breathing problems. Again, used to breathing with their upper chest. And for a lot of people, it's just a habitual, busy, stressful life and triggers our normal fight and flight response and upper chest breathing. Now, what you need to know that if you're breathing with your chest, it's linked to the fight and flight response. It's linked to anger and fear, and therefore you'll increase your chances of responding with anxiety or fear, as well as anger, if you're breathing with this style. So if you're habitually breathing with your upper chest and you're in traffic, you're more likely to get stressed, and so forth. So breathing with diaphragm is useful for managing all sorts of stress. In reality, every single breath of your life should be taken with your diaphragm unless you are physically exerting yourself. I'm also a physiotherapist, so I know that upper chest breathing uses a lot more effort and oxygen to take air in, where diaphragm breathing uses a lot less effort and oxygen, but it's slower to take air in. So when you're puffing, you need the quick, sharp intakes of breath with your upper chest to get air in quickly with physical exertion. That's the only reason you should be using your chest. It kicks in with stress because the fight and flight response is around readying yourself to fight or take flight, which are very physically intensive actions. So you might be sitting in your chair, but if you're actually having a bit of a panic, the brain doesn't distinguish, you start to chest breathe. So diaphragm breathing can be used to ease off anxiety and anger and any other intense emotions, to focus you, to calm you. And particularly useful at work, where people become too focused, running late in traffic, and so forth. So what is the diaphragm? The diaphragm is a sheet of muscle that sits between the lungs and the abdominal contents. And if you see in this diagram, the lungs are domed at the bottom and the abdominal contents push up with the liver on the right hand side and the stomach on the left and everything else below it. So this means at rest the diaphragm is a dome shape. It's also very thin. It's only literally like thick Glad wrap, a few millimeters thick. It encompasses all around, front to back, side to side, and works by simply contracting itself to push down flat, as you can see in this diagram. By doing that, two things happen. The lungs are pulled down with it and allow air to flow in, and that's your in-breath, and the abdominal contents are squashed, and therefore your stomach moves forward and out. So that's the key. As you breathe in, it's abdomen out. If you don't get that right, you're mucking everything up. Some people breathe in and push in their stomach. That's not correct. So breathe in, stomach flows out. And the out breath is just a letting go, a relaxation. It shouldn't be pushed back. So how do we do this? It depends on how difficult it is for you to commence this technique. So what I recommend is use a mirror and watch yourself. Look at your chest initially and look at your abdomen. See how much your chest is rising, see how much your abdomen is rising. Now, if you're not in too much of the habit, you might find that just by putting a hand on your stomach, you can push the breath down to there and breathe in with your diaphragm. Another technique is to put a hand on the chest and try and not breathe with your chest, which will automatically push it down to the abdomen. So you can find which one works better for you, a hand on the abdomen to take it directly there, or a hand on the chest to stop the chest moving. Now a word on practice. You need a quantity and a quality approach. Quality means practice the technique in front of the mirror so that you can increase your diaphragm breathing skill This is vital, especially if you're using it to control panic, because unless you have that skill, you won't be able to reproduce this with panic symptoms. So you need to be pretty good at this skill so it becomes second nature. Now that means once or twice a day, spend a few minutes in front of the mirror practicing until it becomes second nature. The other approach is quantity, in that no matter how good your skill is, just make sure you're trying to do 3 to 5 diaphragm breaths in a row frequently throughout the day. This develops a more relaxed habit throughout your entire day, and as I said before, will reduce your degree of stress response to normally stressful events, or events that don't even need to be stressful. So you'll be less primed to respond to things with stress, or less intense. So these opportunities can happen at red lights when you're driving the car, stop at work when you're on the computer. They can be when you've just hung up the phone. Could be when you're having ads watching TV, waiting at the traffic lights if you're a pedestrian, waiting for the bus. Basically just take a few moments to whack in 3 to 5 slow diaphragm breaths. Don't worry about the skill level, you'll practice the skill level at home in front of the mirror. But eventually I want a natural, large and easy diaphragm breath with the abdominal muscles relaxed and the abdomen coming out as you breathe in, and developing this where your habitual breathing day to day is a gentle, shallow diaphragm breath, which, in normal everyday relaxed state means your stomach may only move a centimetre or 2. So it's not a big movement when you're in a relaxed state, but it's much more important. And also as a physiotherapist, I can tell you that if you continually breathe with your upper chest, it's less natural and more effort, and you hold muscles in the rib cage and you hold tension in the muscles around the shoulder blade. So I can guarantee you increased chances of pains around the shoulder blade, tightness in the neck muscles, in the rib cage area, just feelings of lack of ease in that shoulder girdle area, because you're habitually keeping tension if you breathe up there. So there's a lot of benefits for breathing with your diaphragm, from less stress, and you also can feel more connected to yourself. So I do encourage you to do that whether you have panic symptoms or not, better ways to manage stress, and just a better lifestyle. And a final word. There are breathing techniques in Tai Chi and yoga and traditions like that which are used to increase the flow of prana or chi, depending on whether it's a yogi or Asian tradition. These are different techniques. They may involve very different breathing techniques, all the way from using both your diaphragm and your chest at once. This is not breathing for anxiety. This is to increase universal energy flow when you're already in a calm state. When you're stressed, you're in a high energy state and you need to calm things down. These other techniques need to be done from a relaxed state and increase your flow of universal energy. So don't mix up the two. They're not used for anxiety and panic management. So I hope you learnt what you need, and I do encourage you to practice and hope you find some benefit.